This is CityCast Seattle. I'm Jane C. Hu, and here's what Seattle's talking about. How much would you bet that Kalshi and Robinhood get shut down permanently in Washington? We're talking about the ongoing lawsuits in our state around these so-called online prediction markets. And as always, we've got our weekend recommendations. But first, we're going to talk about Seattle's literary scene and the city's most fun reading series. Here with us today is Katie Lee Ellison, writer, book reviewer, and founder of Nonfiction for No Reason. Welcome, Katie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And we've got Marcus Harrison Green, founder of the South Seattle Emerald and Hinton Publishing and co-host of the podcast In the Meanwhile. Welcome, Marcus.
Always great to be here with you, Jane.
So first, I want to ask you all, is Seattle a literary town?
Yes.
What makes it a literary town?
We struggle with funding for the arts in this city, but that doesn't stop artists from existing in this city, which is a miracle of their own making. But we have a plethora of both visible and hideaway cats of extremely creative, brilliant people, not just writers, but like multi-talented people. I think the fact that we're a literary city is due to the fact that literary people and artists live here and they figure it out, they make it work. But that does not mean that this is a city that fosters a thriving creative community by a long shot.
Marcus, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, we are officially a city of literature, right? I mean, our literary city, according to UNESCO, us an Iowa city. So, I mean, who am I to argue with that? I will say, I mean, I do think because of our climate at times, like I was at a coffee shop not too long ago and there were just dozens of people sitting down writing in an actual journal. They weren't even typing. They were, so I think because of our climate, because of the people, because of our introverted nature of many here, I think that all contributes to our literary nature.
Wait, Marcus, do you mean like literal physical climate, or do you mean just general vibes climate?
Both.
Okay.
Both. We have a lot of weather where it's kind of cozy just to go into a coffee shop or by the fireplace or Hugo House or somewhere and just write.
Totally. So, Katie, you started this reading series called Nonfiction for No Reason. When did that start and what inspired you to do that?
Yeah, so AWP was coming to Seattle in 2023.
For people who don't know AWP, what is AWP?
AWP is a national literary conference that happens once a year. It attracts thousands and thousands of writers, agents, publishers, everybody. I think the largest I think it's ever been is something like 25,000 people. It's a big literary party and it changes cities every year. So the fact that it was coming to Seattle was kind of a big deal. I mean, they'd been here, and at the same time, it was also that period where we were still sort of like crawling our way out of pandemic isolation and loneliness and obscurity.
Some of us still are, Katie.
Absolutely. Yes, 100%. So I was desperate for community again. I had no idea where we were centered anymore. Like during the pandemic, the literary community in Seattle really, really shifted, like everything else. And it should have. And also we lost things, we gained things. But I was like, where is everyone?
Felt like a lot of people I know left because it was like, well, there's no work to be had and it's just too expensive just to try to continue to be here while supporting writing. But
yeah, we lost a lot of people to New York and Iowa City, as far as I know.
It was kind of like LA, what LA is now, right? Where so many creatives are bouncing from it. We had that happen, I guess, 5 years ago. But yeah.
Yeah. So coming out of all of that, I had something I wanted to read that was like really fresh and in edits. And then I had a whole lot of people that I wanted to hang out with during AWP that were going to be in town or that I hadn't seen in a while. And that's kind of where it was birthed. And then the night of, it was 10 readers, me included. And it ended up being a packed house upstairs at the Woods, which was also funny because there was like an accidental double booking with the Rumpus, which was downstairs.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So we had like a line out the door and nobody knew who was for what. It ended up being this really magnetic, magical, fun night. And when it was over, everybody was like, when's the next one? And I was like, huh? But then I was also like, yeah, I have like a lot of ideas.
I think your reading really showed how people were hungry for something like that. And I do think that the timing of it was spot on. Like you said, a lot of us were clawing our way out of the weird social black hole we had all fallen into. And it was unclear where the literary scene was at that point. And just someone taking the initiative to be like, you know what, we're just going to do this again. We're going to do it again, and it's going to be fun. We're going to bring a bunch of people together. And you've had your events at a lot of like cool spaces as well, which I really love. What is your vision for building community here?
Yeah. So I will say there are several priorities whenever I'm planning an event. One is like we cannot have an all-white lineup ever, ever. It's a huge problem, especially with nonfiction and memoir in Seattle, but I think in general. So that is always like priority number one. Number two, and this makes my job so much harder, but I move the location every time. And the reason is that I want people coming from all parts of town. And then once somebody's come to an event in Rainier Beach, I want them to come to Phinney Ridge for a reading, or like go to the East Side maybe someday, or like I haven't done West Seattle yet, I don't think. We've been in Georgetown. Like I try to keep it moving around to like keep a flux of people coming in. You know, I also started this to kind of keep a nonfiction prose life alive in this city, because another thing that coming out of the pandemic was that I had access to these incredible readings all over the world. And then it started to all close down and go away. And I wanted to keep that alive. So if there are writers that are coming into town, I'll plan around that just so that people can promote their books and we can have access, and then put those published authors on stage with people who you've never heard of before, who've never published before, who are still students. So it's all about like equal access, and mixing everybody together. That's the whole idea.
I'm curious, how does the organizing actually go? I mean, I know that there are, as a judge the past 2 years for the Washington State Book Awards, I know there are definitely writers who who take themselves very seriously, maybe too seriously sometimes. There's also a lot of egos at times. How do you go about making sure everybody has, equal time, everybody feels, valued?
There's so many levels to that question. In organizing, I think a lot of people sort of eliminate themselves, because I think my approach is very heart-filled and not always super duper polished. So also, we don't really have much of a budget. We'd love to change that. Multimillionaires living in Seattle, please.
There are fewer now after that millionaire's tax. I mean,
yeah, totally.
I heard about it through a mutual friend of ours who was like, hey, I'm helping Katie put together a lineup of readers, and would you like to be a part of this? So I think it really is it's a snowball effect, where if this reading series exists and there's a place for it, the more people who become involved with it and know each other, it kind of, the community and the network naturally grows as people just know each other.
Absolutely. And I think what the thing that I'm always striving for the most is finding Black readers. Honestly, I think it's like it's a struggle because there's just not enough visibility. And when I think about, at least from where I sit, and when I think about writers who have had to leave the city, my faves are Black writers. So it bums me out, and I'm constantly searching for ways to like, how do we like stage writers that want to be heard? Like, who wants to talk into a microphone about themselves and read their work?
I want to switch gears a little bit. I want recommendations from each of you. So Marcus, I know you were a judge in the Washington State Book Awards. Katie, I know you're reviewing books for The Stranger. I want to hear from each of you if there's something that you've read recently. Ideally by a local author, doesn't have to be local, that has really stuck with you and that you recommend to people?
Ooh, I really, really loved Rough Trade. It's a novel by Katrina Carrasco, and I got a chance to interview her. It actually won the Washington State Book Award for Best Fiction Book, but it's wonderfully written, number one. Two, it's entertaining every single page. I think it's 300 something, pages, and yet it goes by like really breezy. It also is multi-genre. It's everything from social commentary to detective novel to queer liberation commentary. And so it's just a beautiful, beautiful book. I can't recommend it enough.
I have been reading Tomiko Nomura's A Place for What We Lose, A Daughter's Return to Tule Lake. I'm going to do an interview with her for The Stranger just next week. And I've been really, really struck by how just incredibly well executed. It's quiet, it's lyric, it's experimental. It's really written like straight from the heart. She incorporates and weaves in parts of a memoir that her father wrote about living in an internment camp around the time of World War II. This book really feels like a deep pull and just is so, so excellently executed on the page. And it's very compelling. It's not slow either. So,
damn.
yeah.
Okay. I can't wait to pick up both of those.
And I should mention that Rough Trade is set on the docks of Tacoma. So it is also local in the setting as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you all for the next couple of books that I will read. I'm currently reading Fulfilled by Alex McGillis, which is about Amazon's rise. A lot of cool Seattle history in it.
Yeah.
But I need a little bit more literary, I think. Like, it's great reading nonfiction that is informative. And it sounds like both of these are maybe a little bit more lyric storytelling.
Yeah. There's a study that shows reading novels actually improve your empathy as well. So,
there you
or
go.
increase your empathy. So there you go, folks.
All right. Well, let's take a break. And when we come back, let's talk about Kalshi and Robinhood. Have y'all been getting hella ads for Kalshi? I feel like every time I open TikTok, I'm getting like a Kalshi ad maybe every like 10 videos.
No.
Yeah, I don't do TikTok, but like certainly a podcast, there's a lot of Kalshi reads.
Okay, maybe you all are just better people than me and your algorithm knows that. Are you all familiar with Kalshi or any of those online betting markets?
No, I stay away from these slippery slopes.
Good for you, Katie.
Yeah, when I first sort of became super hyper aware of it was the whole thing where there was betting around Venezuela and who would be the next leader or what have you.
Yeah. I had seen that on some of these betting sites, there were markets around the fate of late Iranian ruler Ali Khamenei, which had drawn like $54 million in trading.
Sure.
And then eventually that got taken down because they're like, it's maybe not a good look having a market where you're essentially betting on someone's death. So quite dark stuff. Did you all know that Washington actually recently brought a suit against Kalshi?
I did. I know that was one of the things that Nick Brown, our Attorney General, certainly said that he was going to consider. And hey, he's a man of his word, at least in this realm.
Yeah. Online gambling is illegal here in Washington, except at tribal casinos. And he said at a press conference last week that Kalshi is, quote, just a bookie with a fancy name and a huge amount of venture capital behind them. And then this week,
describes a lot of the government.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to that part, Katie. Also this week, GeekWire reported that the company Robinhood, which also has one of these prediction markets, has sued the state of Washington kind of preemptively. It seems like they saw the writing on the wall with the Kalshi lawsuit and said that the state's suit against Kalshi, quote, shows enforcement against the company is imminent. Oh, man. I don't know if you all have ever looked at these betting markets, but some of them are quite dark. Like you've got everything from the usual sports betting, really big right now, especially with like all of the NCAA basketball happening, to politics. Like, literally, while I was looking at this before we hopped on this call, I saw that there was a betting market for whether Pam Bondi was going to get removed as Attorney General. And in the time between opening the website and us hopping on this call, it became official news that she has now been removed as Attorney General. So it's wild.
I want to go back to alcoholism and the horse races. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't it make it sound so good?
Okay, Katie, I grew up in Kentucky, and the Derby is like the thing that is happening this month into May. So, like, just if you move to a different part of the country, like, that is still in vogue in a lot of ways.
That's like the gritty fun part that I'm talking about, like the hats and all that. I'm talking about the guys who got to be there on Tuesday afternoon. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen those guys, too. Definitely. That is the best time to go to the track. It is empty, and you can actually win some real money.
Yeah, I'll say like these prediction markets. I mean, the stuff that they're betting on, like it wasn't, I think it was the State of the Union where they were betting on how many times Trump, said spectacular or great or very or something like that. I mean, the fact that you can bet on things like that, it's almost like, well, where is any type of regulation in terms of like if, the speechwriter, for instance, of that speech could be like, well, I know he's going to say it 57 times or whatever. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yes. So this is one thing that has come up a lot recently about potential conflicts of interest. So President Trump, as you just mentioned, he is pro Kalshi. His son, Trump Jr., is an advisor to Kalshi and Polymarket, which is another online market that actually doesn't operate in the US anymore. I feel like all these concerns about insider trading it's really hard to know. Like, there's obviously like a tiny disclaimer on these websites that say if you have any direct relationship to the people involved with these decisions, then you can't bet. But it's like, who is betting
Scout's
them?
honor, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that works.
Which, of course, everyone on the internet is exactly who they say they are. So
yeah, I do want to touch on the fact, that it was Robinhood that initiated this preemptive measure. I mean, they have been, one of these quote unquote investment places that have a fairly terrible reputation. In 2020, there was a young person, Alex Kearns, a 20-year-old who ended up killing himself after, going on Robinhood and having realizing that his balance was negative $730,000. They definitely are a platform that has gamified investing with people constantly trading. In 2021, they were fined by the SEC of about $70 million. In 2025, the SEC fined them again for $45 million for violation. So, I mean, this isn't exactly I don't want to say reputable company, but it certainly is a company with a bad reputation.
It's unclear what the line is here between what constitutes gambling. Like, is betting a type of gambling here? And I think for me, what it really highlights is that the way that our laws are written really are not that responsive to how quickly the internet is moving and changing things. Like, how is it possible that we could have foreseen this weird turn of events where people were just online betting about like any random thing, right? Like, how many times Trump says a certain word in a speech is like so specific.
Can you say potato? I had you saying potato on Kalshi, and I'm underwater 1,000. So no.
Potato.
Crazy. I mean, it just speaks to all of the ways that all of our protections are being removed, micro and macro, right? Like, at the track, there's things you can and can't do, and you're in person. There's a social contract in that space about how to move, and the more the sort of guardrails are taken off, the more people can like run amok, and you can feel it. I think at every level of society right now that people are acting in ways and doing things that it feels like we've never done before. These sort of like things that shame would keep us from doing before, or a sense of mutual responsibility, accountability. There's lots to be said for the downfalls and the pitfalls of authority and the structures of this country and our governments. But there's also a lot to be said for what they provide that we haven't necessarily accounted for too, and the ways that this current administration is tearing at this very fabric of like what makes us human.
This just feels like something that would happen in a frat house where it's like, bro, I bet like Trump's going to say potato 70 times in this speech. And it's like, no way, man. And except it like formalized that platform and makes it easier for people to actually put some money behind it.
And it's people's lives at stake, literally, in so many different ways.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, the worst is too with what may be an impending recession. There's certainly an inequality, vast inequality in this country. I could foresee more and more people in fits of desperation, getting on these, platforms and, going broke. And it's, I think this is a problem that unfortunately, particularly with who's in office right now, is going to get worse before it gets better.
The last thing I'll say, Marcus, is that speaking of the recession, there is a Kalshi bet on that right now.
Geez.
There's about $1.1 million in that bet. And currently, people think that there's a 30.7% chance.
Not disconcerting at all. All right.
All right, let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk about some things that actually brought us joy and our weekend recommendations. All right, y'all, it's Friday again. I always love closing out the week with our moments of joy and our recommendations for the weekend. So first, Katie, do you have anything that you want to shout out, or what brought you joy this week?
Well, shout out, very obviously, Nonfiction for No Reason is back after a year of hiatus this Sunday.
Woo!
Woo, woo, woo.
Nice.
At Antipode Gallery in Pioneer Square. Doors open at 6. Check out the art. Readings start at 7. We're going to have a nonfiction dance performance. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so come through. Tickets are sliding scale, $5 to $25, but no one's turned away at the door for lack of funds. It's going to be incredible. So that's my shout out for the weekend. Things bringing me joy. I have to shout out other literary orgs and like happenings in the city right now. Unpoetry by Eric Acosta is like a magical whirlwind of artist expression. He's been doing some incredible events recently. Common Area Maintenance and Common Objects are the center of the literary world in Seattle for me right now, and it has been for at least a few years. Definitely a post-pandemic literary center. And Chum,
They're doing so much great work.
they are. They're amazing. Amy Hirayama, Timothy. And then Chum is a really cool new publication in Seattle that's doing really fun, playful, informative, well researched journalistic work. So those three guys.
Love Chum. I've been really digging. They actually just came out with the second installment of a series they have going where a person who works on the Washington State ferries has an anonymous dispatch about what their job entails. And it's lovely. And it's really, there's no one else doing that kind of work.
I want to take credit where credit's due. I did help come up with the name for that anonymous writer. I don't know who it is, but
wow.
I did give my 2 cents on it. So
Incredible.
Nice.
See, I would love to have them on. I want to hear everything about their job, and I can't wait. I simply cannot wait for all of their installments to come out. But that's incredible. I love that. Marcus, what about you? What do you want to shout out? What brought you joy this week?
Yeah, what brought me joy this week was Ashley McGirt. She's a friend of mine. Her book, The Cost of Healing in Silence, came out earlier this week, and I did a book talk with her. And she's somebody who highlights how to decolonize therapy, just how the whole entire medical industry as an institution has brought a lot of pain to marginalized communities. And so she's trying to elevate the plights and the healing for specifically in the Black community. Shout out to her. Please go get her book if you have a chance. It's a heavy read, but it's also a great read, and it's for anybody, I think, who is struggling with things such as self-love, wanting to actually potentially accept the diagnosis of being neurodiverse. And so, shout out to her for her vulnerability and putting herself out there as well.
Love that. My little moment of joy this week, you all might have seen it online, celebrated travel writer and Edmonds resident, Rick Steves, had this whole post about the millionaire's tax, which had a very sweet photo of him looking excited with the caption, "Millionaire's tax? Let's try shared prosperity." And he just wrote about how, he's excited about the millionaire's tax, even though he's a millionaire. I feel like we've heard from a lot of millionaires who are like, I'm moving out, or this constitutes an unfair income tax, which is illegal by Washington state standards. And I love that Rick Steves is just out here being like, you know what? I think this is great. It's money out of my pocket that's going into our community. And I hope that people change their mental framework on what this is. So
kudos to him, because I'm a part of a board, and we had our anchor donor literally move to Nevada because of the millionaire's tax and take his millions of dollars that he pledged to our organization away with him. So anyway.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
So the Alliance for Gun Responsibility is raising money right now.
I mean, we got a lot of pitches in this episode for if you're a millionaire, but yeah. Please put your money towards things that matter in our community.
Yes, please do.
All right, so we've already talked a little bit about what Katie's doing this weekend. Obviously, Nonfiction for No Reason, Sunday. What else are you all up to this weekend?
There's going to be a gathering put on by the founder of Hey Black Seattle to discuss how the Black community in the city can potentially unify and come together. And, everybody is invited, from transplants to folks who have been here for years. It's funny enough, if it was actually birthed out of a conversation we had here on CityCast about there not, and this was my words, not anybody else's, but about there not really being a Black community here, but being a Black demographic with various micro communities. And so hopefully some of those micro communities will be coming together this weekend, and we can form a larger community. We shall see. Community building is always very hard, as Katie alluded to earlier. So.
Oh man, I love that. That makes me really happy to hear that, that resonated with someone, and now there's a real life event happening that can try and bring people together.
Jane, don't ever doubt that this show changes lives.
That's right. Listeners, take note. Yeah.
Katie, what else are you up to this weekend?
For funsies, I'm going to go to a friend's house who's running sort of like a dance movement, experimental something or other, and just do what it is that she tells me to do.
Incredible.
But it'll be fun because the dancer for NFNR on Sunday night will be there too. So we'll get to dance together beforehand. Yeah.
Awesome.
And also, honestly, I'm spending a lot of my spare hours, as many as possible, reading and writing right now and working on my own projects and like kind of packing the brain full of good juices.
Way to practice what you preach, Katie.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Marcus.
The life of a writer, I feel like you're always kind of on and trying to make time to work on what you want to work on in between all the other little things, like the pesky details of making a living as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this weekend I am hosting a monthly dinner club. It is rotating, but basically the premise of it is that the winner from the previous time picks an ingredient, and everyone has to bring a dish that incorporates that ingredient. And this month it's pear, and I've got a dish in mind. I'm not gonna blow my own cover here, but it's fun because people get a little bit competitive about it, but in a friendly way, and you get to eat a bunch of really delicious food. So,
are you going sweet or savory?
I'm going savory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think part of the strategy is also like, what is everyone else doing? Let me try and see if I can go in a different direction. At the last one, the host introduced a new category. Instead of just like having the overall winner, there's also a most creative use of the ingredient. So I think that introduces a new dimension where you can get recognized for more than one thing. But
Very cool.
speaking of food, I also wanted to shout out the Supra Dinner Society on behalf of our CityCast Seattle neighbor, Casey R. So Casey says that the Supra Dinner Society brings Georgian feast, toasting, and hospitality culture and community to help melt the Seattle freeze. You can find out more about them at supradinner.com. Georgian food and Georgian wine is so freaking good. So if people are not tuned into this already, this seems like a great opportunity to get some like genuine Georgian cuisine in town.
Can you clarify, Jane? Is it like Atlanta, Georgia, or like
I am so
Georgia,
sorry.
like
It is the country of Georgia.
Oh, okay. I was
Yes,
like, damn,
yes.
Georgia is like gets down like that. Okay.
I will say, the state of Georgia has some good food. I don't know about the wine in the state of Georgia.
That's where I was kind of like,
You're like, I don't know about that. But no, Georgian wine, as in the country, legit. They have, if you don't know, like a huge culture around feasting. And it seems like this is a really fun way to kind of get in touch with that. Well, thank you so much, Katie Lee Ellison, for joining us today. Katie, if people want to learn more about your work, where can they find more about it?
Yeah, if you want to know about me, katieleeellison.com.
Two L's in Ellison.
Yes, so many E's and L's. Watch out. And if you want to know more about Nonfiction for No Reason, nonfictionfornoreason.com. Both of these things are exactly the same handles on Instagram. There's a lot of information there too.
Love it. And Marcus Harrison Green, thank you as always for joining us.
yes, to quote literary master Dr. Seuss, let's not cry because it's over. Let's smile because it happened today.
I'm your host, Jane Sihu. Our executive producer is Ashley Smith. Our creative producers are Sam J. Leeds and Liam Billingham. Post-production this week was done by PJ Shahamat. Our audience development manager is Ben Keenan. Music is by Aaron Taylor Waldman, All the Kimonos, and Los Mocachetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. Our ad music is by Sven Lindvall and Sarah, the instrumentalist from Epidemic Sounds via Getty Images. Listeners, we love hearing from you all. Send us what you're doing this weekend by emailing us at seattle@citycast.fm. You can also text us or leave us a voicemail on the CityCast hotline at 206-880-3931. Until next week, see you, Seattle.